Welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just jump right in. We are looking at a complete, fundamental rewiring of the business world right now, the 2026 AI native startup lifecycle. Here's our core thesis, and honestly, it's the main thing you need to take away today. AI has effectively eradicated the technical learning curve. Building software, it's just no longer the bottleneck. But, and this is a massive but, speed without direction is a seriously dangerous trap. So let's break down the exact opportunities and the very real risks for founders operating in this hyper-accelerated landscape.
I really want to pose this question directly to you. What happens when building software becomes completely effortless? Just, really think about that for a second. We're at a point where agentic coding tools have compressed what used to literally take a whole team of engineers into work that a single founder can just ship themselves in an afternoon. Sounds amazing, right? Well, here is the stark reality we have to face. The real founder challenge today isn't about building faster anymore. It's about avoiding building the wrong thing faster. Because if you can build anything instantly, the penalty for moving in the wrong direction is incredibly high. You're basically just confidently scaling a fundamentally flawed premise.
Historically, founders spent all their time deep in the weeds, writing code, managing operations, closing deals. It was basically an individual contributor role based heavily on pure sweat equity. But in 2026, the AI native founder is an orchestrator. It's a totally different ballgame. Your job isn't writing every single line of code anymore. It's directing specialized agents, like Claude Code, to build out the infrastructure, and Claude Cowork to handle all that heavy operational load. Your attention has to shift up the stack to those higher-order strategic decisions.
So we're going to break this roadmap down into 4 distinct stages. 1, the idea stage, which is all about validation. 2, the MVP stage, defined by constraint. 3, the launch stage for hardening. And finally, 4, the scale stage, targeting true defensibility.
All right, let's kick things off with stage 1, the idea stage, validation.
Look, as a founder, your absolute first instinct is to start building immediately, right? Don't. Just stop. This stage is a disciplined exercise in restraint. You really shouldn't be writing a single line of production code until you meet some very strict exit criteria. First, is the problem actually real and specific? Second, does your solution address that actual problem? And third, do you have concrete, qualitative signal from real, actual human conversations? It is so easy to mistake an AI-generated prototype for actual market validation. But remember, a prototype is literally just a prop for conversations. The conversations themselves, that's your actual validation.
And here lies the massive hidden pitfall of the idea stage, AI-powered confirmation bias. If you just casually ask an AI to validate your startup idea, it's going to eagerly act like a sycophantic yes man. It'll find all the evidence in the world to make you feel like an absolute genius. It basically acts as a supercharged research engine for what you already believe. To survive this, you have to use AI as a structured devil's advocate. Force it to find disconfirming evidence. Literally ask it to map out exactly why your competitor's approach is better than yours. The goal here is to kill bad ideas fast, before you spend even that zero-friction effort actually building them.
Which brings us to stage 2, the MVP stage, constraint.
Now, I want you to burn this operator-style warning into your memory, okay? Functional code is easy, secure code takes intent. AI coding agents, they absolutely guarantee speed. They are going to quickly generate code that works. But, and this is absolutely crucial, they do not automatically generate secure or structurally sound architecture. Functional code is obvious, right? It either does the thing you want or it doesn't. Security vulnerabilities, on the other hand, well, they're completely invisible until the exact moment they're exploited.
And that brings us to the dual threats of the MVP stage. The first one is agentic technical debt. If you don't have written architectural guidelines, your AI coding assistants are just going to rederive structural decisions from scratch every single session. You'll end up with a codebase that is just fundamentally incoherent. The second threat is zero-friction scope creep. Look, when generating a brand new feature takes like an afternoon and costs practically nothing, founders tend to just bloat their MVPs. You gotta remember, just because you can build it instantly definitely doesn't mean you should.
So how do we actually combat this? Well, you have to orchestrate 3 mandatory, completely non-negotiable steps before you ever expose your MVP to real users. Step 1. Define your architecture before you build. Save it as a persistent context file, like a claude.md file, so the AI actually has some rigid guardrails. Step 2. Enforce your MVP scope by physically writing down what the product deliberately will not do. And step 3, conduct a serious pre-launch security review to catch any authentication gaps or data exposure risks before they become a massive nightmare.
Moving right along to stage 3, the launch stage, hardening.
Okay, so this is where we shift gears from validating the product to validating the actual business. At launch, complexity just multiplies. And if you try to hold every single thread yourself, the whole company is going to stall out. You absolutely must systematize. So, step 1, audit your operational load. Step 2, categorize what actually needs your human judgment versus what can just be automated. And step 3, design workflow logic so AI agents like Claude Code can handle things like triage and metrics. That frees you up for the high-stakes decisions that actually move the needle.
At the exact same time, you've got to harden the product itself. Ignoring those MVP shortcuts you took and just letting technical debt compound in production, that is a fatal flaw. The correct approach here is to systematically audit and refactor. You want to instruct your AI agent to actively hunt down structural weaknesses. Have it address compliance gaps, things like SOC 2, GDPR, or HIPAA, long before enterprise buyers ever even think to ask for them.
And finally, stage 4, the scale stage, defensibility.
All right, I've got a bit of a tough love realization for you here. If AI makes it incredibly easy for you to build today, well, it makes it incredibly easy for a competitor to copy you tomorrow. So you have to map your moats. Surface-level features, they're essentially useless now, and AI can clone those over a weekend. True defensibility requires deep workflow lock-in. You need to automate your customers' go-to-market workflows, embed your products so deeply into their daily operations that the very idea of switching to a copycat becomes a massive, painful project for them.
Your other massive moat, it's compounding user data. Just notice how this naturally evolves over time. In month 1, you're just collecting raw behavioral signals. Fast forward to month 6, and AI is helping you identify really high signal patterns from that data. By year 1 and beyond, you're rolling out proprietary model improvements based entirely on that exact specific history. A copycat, no matter how well funded, simply cannot instantly buy the behavioral fingerprint of thousands of users who have been refining workflows inside your product.
Which really brings us to our final, deeply important question for you to chew on. If a well-funded incumbent copies your product today, would your users actually stay? In 2026, your survival as a startup depends entirely on your honest answer to that question. Because look, building is easy now, but building the right thing, architecting it securely, automating your operations, and truly locking in your users, that is the real art of the AI native founder. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there, map your moats, and go build something that lasts.